Oh, yep. It's going to be a love letter. This one's not going to be too long. Hopefully brief, succinct, but articulate nonetheless. So you've heard me on this channel talk about the obvious, the obvious people that stun you on screen: Jean Moreau, Monica Vitti, Anna Karina, Marilyn Monroe, even Montgomery Clift and Marlon Brando, Liv Ullmann. But I like to talk about someone who is maybe the inverse of the eroticism or the impulses that those others bring to mind. And by the way, this is completely off the cuff, which I think it's fitting, because I'm talking about Ernest Borgnine today, and the 1955 film Marty, which he won his Academy Award for, which is just a simply fine film. It's just a simply great film. Directed by Delbert Mann, who really didn't have a very impressive career, which isn't to imply that he's in any way untalented. It's just that this is going to be a love letter without words like poetic reasoning, critical framing, or symmetrical metaphors. It's going to be without that kind of ostentatious sort of language or filmic dialogue, which is fine, because I don't feel like talking about that right now. And that's why films like Marty are very important. They're very warm, they're very comforting, and they're unchanging. They're incredibly approachable, incredibly accessible, but more than anything else, they're magical. And they're magical on account of something very special, something very unique, something implaceable, something invaluable. And in this particular film, it's the performance of Ernest Borgnine, which is just overwhelming with sincerity, with compassion, with empathy, with love. You root for him, and victory is very sweet in Marty, very sweet. Victory is sweet, even deep in the cheap seats. Marty is a profound film, because it is so just simply good. It's just a simply good film, which is centered around an incredibly transcendental performance, but without any of the pretentious baggage that usually goes with that claim. I don't want to associate any of that with what Ernest Borgnine did. First time I ever saw Borgnine was probably in Escape from New York. He played the peculiar cab driver. It was very good, and of course I fell in love with his work in The Wild Bunch. In particular, Wild Bunch is one of my favorite films, and he was excellent in that. But nothing really compares to his performance in Marty. Not much compares to the performance in Marty. It was just spectacular. And I think it was quite an interesting inverse. I mean, I'm sure it seems conventional now, and you can argue that maybe it was a tired concept then, but it was a film about ugly people finding something beautiful. And I think that that's priceless. And I think that the film is immortal in that idea, as Ernest Borgnine is. That kind of spirit that will never wane. I would never call him a ghost. I would call him a spirit. Because the spirit of Ernest Borgnine, just an incredible force, like a familial force. And of course, the film is also probably socially interesting, since it documents the assimilation of Italians during 1950s America. Of course, it's interesting from that perspective. It certainly has a few historical points of value, but what I found most valuable about it, and most endearing about it, most, oh my gosh, just most exhilarating and enchanting about it, is Ernest Borgnine. It's the heart of it, which is everything that he is able to emote, all of the different feelings of desire that he is possessed by, and the landscapes of feeling, of good feeling, of warm feelings, that he's able to compel you to feel with him and on account of him. Ernest was just one of those perfect actors. And unlike someone like Montgomery Clift or, Monica Vitti, Ernest Borgnine was not a beautiful creature. But he was a beautiful soul. And he had to be photographed, he had to be documented in some sort of way as well. Because his charm, his charisma is unending. Completely unending. And Marty is a completely great film with a couple really good supporting performances as well. I do want to say Betsy Blair, who played Clara, in a really tender performance, who had a pretty noteworthy career. She was in Il Grido, early Antonioni picture. Joe Mantell, who played his friend Angie, I thought was fantastic, actually. I thought he was very good. Of course, he was in other films like Chinatown. I thought Joe Mantell was very good in this film. But all revolves around Ernest Borgnine and how happy you want him to be. I love this picture. I love Ernest Borgnine. And sometimes I just love classic Hollywood. Sometimes I just love that unchanging feeling of absolute warmth, sincerity, care, and heart. And no one expressed that more coherently or more authentically than Ernest Borgnine. And Marty is a fucking fantastic picture. It's brilliant. It is absolutely brilliant. Not every film has to be this grand artistic statement. And Marty is not trying to be a grand artistic statement. But it ends up just by way of simple movie magic, by way of simply putting Ernest Borgnine on screen. It ends up being more transcendental than even the most carefully composed art films. Marty is forever, and so is Ernest Borgnine. Thank you. Please subscribe to the channel, and share the video, like it, comment, do whatever. Watch Marty. That's always a good idea. What you doing tonight, Marty? You should probably watch Marty. Thanks for watching.